English with deck. So, as an online educator, you do have the privilege of being able to select who you want to teach. You can select the age of your students, the age of your target audience, and you can reject ones who fall out of those categories. And that is something that is quite unique about online education. I mean, of course, if you are teaching in a physical school, let's say high school, you'll be teaching teenagers. And that's what it is. You don't get adults in high school. You don't get little kids in high school. The same situation if you're teaching in a primary or elementary school. You're there to teach specific age ranges. Of course, people can diversify at points in their career, maybe move up an age range or down if they feel they're more suited to that particular class of students. And of course, the same happens in online teaching. Maybe you start as a generalist and you sort of dive, and then you sort of specialize in one specific niche, one specific criteria down the line. Maybe you start as a specialist, but actually generalize the opposite way. Many people choose only one or the other, and also a great number choose just to teach a bit of everything. And I think it's great. It's really exceptional to have all these options available. And this also falls to club activities, you know? Now, for example, a sports club might say ages 10 and up, meaning they cater for, well, older kids, young teens. And that means the level of competition will be relatively challenging, but no, probably not super extreme. And then if the club would say teach 3 and up, well, they are going to have a really big range of activities. Maybe they're going to be quite easy going. And again, to a degree, they can select who they want to teach. However, I came across a situation recently. Not my kid, actually. Not my kid. But a close friend of mine, their kid did a tryout at a club, and the club actually said they didn't want to teach their kid because the kid wasn't really listening. However, this is where it gets really interesting. Okay, the kid didn't listen. Okay, that happens. Kids are, well, kids. Now, here's the interesting part. The child in question, guess how old he is? 10? No, 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 no. Maybe 6? No, no, no. 5? No, 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 no. He is 4 now. And the reason I mention this is because they advertise as 3 and up. And they specify the reason as the child was not listening attentively in the lessons. Now, of course, sometimes kids get distracted. But what I found really interesting about this case was he was obviously enjoying himself. He was maybe a little bit here and there, but it's a new environment. It's a new set of rules, a new set of experiences to understand. So, of course, it's to be expected. A young child would be slightly disorganized in the sense of maybe not listening immediately to what the teacher was saying. But it really got me thinking. You have, as an educator, you have the opportunity and the right to, teach who you want to teach. But if you do advertise yourself as teaching 3 and up, teaching 10 and up, then simply because use of a child not fitting into your mold, that is a little bit sad, I feel. As for example, now, like I said, this wasn't one of my kids actually, one of my children. But let's use one of my children for an example. Now, if my kid did the same, and I would hope that the teacher would give them a shot. Now, why would I hope that? Because, like I said, kids don't always listen the first time, especially in a new environment. But a good educator will identify the strong points in that child and think, okay, it's worth a shot. Instead of just saying, can't be bothered. They're not super quiet. They're not super obedient off the bat. That's not a good educator, in my opinion, especially for children. If I have a child in one of my classes, online or in a physical classroom, I don't actually expect them to behave 100% of the time. I actually would be very shocked, especially the first time. Not that it's okay to mess around, but kids are kids. If it's an adult, of course, that's a whole different kettle of fish. But for kids, I think when it comes down to kids, the good educators and the subpar educators really become apparent. And unfortunately, I do feel that the club that my friend did a little trial in, that seemed to not have the great educators available, which became very obvious. So, yeah, if you do have any kids, yourself, don't be so hard on them if they don't do it straight away. Give them a chance. They've got to adjust to some stuff. And if they are given a chance by their teacher, by their coach, by their mentor, that there is a great person. Straight off the bat. Okay, I've better dash. I've got things to do, places to see. So I hope you're having a special morning, a spectacular afternoon, and a splendid evening. Bye for now. See you in the next one.